boots and cats and 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 boots and cats. Imagine Kokone standing outside of a door and the door is closed. And Amane comes up and she goes, did I say Kokone was outside the door, right? Okay, and Amane comes up and she goes, what's going on in there? And Kokone says, Ren and Yui are in there studying for tomorrow's test. And Amane goes, how's it going? And then Kokone opens the door just slightly, like an inch, and you just hear that mix playing from inside. And then Kokone closes the door, and Amane just sighs and goes, not well. And Kokone goes, not well indeed. Boots and cats and boots and brow.
1, 2, 3, 4. Chop, chop, chop.
It's cure of the what now?
Gather the ingredients.
Cure of the what now?
Not much time to prep before it's time to start the show.
Oh!
Guests are arriving.
Cure of the what now?
Everybody's smiling.
Cure of the what now?
A tasty party starting. Now it's time to go. Woo!
Served hot and fresh.
Itadakimasu. Hello, fellow ingredient avoidant listeners, and welcome to
Cure of the what now? Yum. Season 2, episode 28.
Episode 28. Why do you always say the episode after the podcast title? Is it because you forget?
No, it's because cure of the what now is the more important part of the message, I guess.
That's fair. It's also the one show where we can answer the question, who would win? One green bitter boy or a crusty loaf man?
How much time does the green pepper have to prepare?
None. I'm going to kill it.
Oh, okay. Absolutely.
You know, I cooked with green peppers today.
Okay.
I think green peppers are super yucky. It's not even the bitterness thing they talked about in the show, because I can enjoy some good bitter flavors. I just think they're gross. I will say, I like the aroma they impart on other foods that are cooked next to them.
You like green peppers through osmosis.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I cooked them up with a bunch of zucchini, and I picked the zucchini out and ate those, and those were really tasty.
Very interesting. Who are you?
I'm your host, Kat, and I am a statue. Please don't crumble me into pieces to steal my jewel.
Oh, but there's a shiny jewel there.
It's not for you, though. It's mine, and I'd rather continue to be a statue than to be crumbled into...
Very interesting. And, I mean, there's a chance that anyone who gets the gem will be mind-controlled by an evil force.
Yeah, weird that this gem seems to be both a force of good and evil.
Yes. I'm your co-host, Joel, and also, I took a bite of my burger, and there was a pickle in there, and as soon as I tasted it, it launched me into the stratosphere. Hate the taste of pickles.
Even the really tasty ones in the jar?
There's no such thing.
No, listen.
No.
Okay. You and I.
Yeah.
Perfect alignment. Pickles do not belong on burgers.
Right.
The only thing that belongs on a burger is meat.
And cheese.
Maybe.
Bacon.
Just really, though, if it's a really good burger, just a little bit of salt and pepper, and it's like...
And some cheese.
You don't even need a bun at that point. Just eat the patty. Put it in your mouth. Hamburger steak.
With some melted cheese on it. Yeah, absolutely. I get you.
So, we're in alignment. No pickles on a burger.
Okay.
But just by themselves.
They're gross.
The problem
is that pickles taste like pickles.
They taste...
If I took a pickle and I took a bite of it and it tasted like chocolate, I'd like pickles. But unfortunately, we live in a world where pickles taste gross and disgusting. This is not a food discussion podcast.
One more thought.
Okay.
Are you perhaps confusing pickles with bananas?
No, I love bananas.
You're a freak. Welcome to the show, folks. Like Joel said, this is not a food discussion podcast. This is a PreCure discussion podcast, and we watched several episodes of PreCure. Joel, how many episodes of PreCure did we watch for the fine folks?
We watched 3 episodes of PreCure and I think 3 episodes of Glitter Force. We keep forgetting. It seems like we're on an alternating schedule where one week we don't watch Doki Doki Glitter Force, and then the next week we remember, so we have to play catch up a little bit. So I think we watched 3 of Glitter Force. Also, really quickly, we do not have a discussion question. We are running behind. We want to get this episode out for you, so we'll just cut out that little bit of the episode.
Absolutely. Real quick, love letter even though those usually go at the end, AU did like our spies PreCure.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. They said that they weren't sure that would ever be a theme Toei did because it's a show for young girls and that might be a little too much, which makes sense to me, but I was glad that, like, the magical girl expert approved our idea.
I don't know if they would be willing to claim that title for themselves.
I don't think that they would, but at the same time, like, I don't know anybody else who has the same breadth of knowledge about magical girl history.
Yeah, that's absolutely
and
true.
has seen as many series. Like, AU knows about series that I didn't know existed.
Well, sure. Yeah.
So,
anyways, so what we watched is we watched episode 17 and 18 of Doki Doki and the corresponding episodes of Glitter Force. In episode 17, Regina goes with the group to a sculpture park, and they're trying to not tell her about the search for the princess and the royal crystals, but Makoto sees a royal crystal embedded in a statue that looks exactly like the princess, which is very suspicious.
And there's a man.
Joe shows up, and it's weird that he's there at that exact same time, but then Makoto remembers that she saw a statue that looked almost exactly like him back in Splendorious, aka the Trump Kingdom. But he just kind of disappears after she starts asking him questions, because you know how Joe is. He doesn't take direct questions at this time. And at this time is all times. Regina does seem to be trying to be a better friend, although it's very clear that she still is basically only has eyes for Mana. But when the girls seem interested in the crystal, remember Regina has like weird reality warping powers. She just destroys the statue to get the gem. And the other girls start trying to clean up, and they're like laughing with each other, and they're having friendship, and Mana goes, "Man, I wish I knew what friendship could be." And then the gem that she's holding transforms into the royal crystal. Her eyes flash red. What's that all about? And then she attacks the girls, and the girls save the day.
I've got an idea. Now that I've got this crystal, give me the rest.
Yes, absolutely. While the PreCure team are fighting her disdain, all the girls except for Mana get turned to stone, because it's like a sculpture disdain that turns people into statues. And Mana doesn't know what to do. But then who shows up but a mysterious man? It's Joe. It's Joe in knight armor, and he has a sword, and he's actually looking kind of fine. You know, his hair, he looks much better without the hat.
He took the stupid hat off and the apron and is like, whoa,
yeah.
You're actually kind of a dude. You're kind of a guy.
He's a looker. But he tells Mana that she can use her lovely heart arrow in order to reverse the damage. She unfreezes the girls, and then they save the day, and that's where the episode ends. Episode 18 immediately follows, where Joe gives some backstory. This episode is just backstory. We find out Joe's real name is Jonathan Klondike. I'm gonna laugh every single time.
It's not nice to make fun of people's names, Spring Peepers.
That's a type of frog. That's not my name. But anyways, we find out that Joe is another survivor of the Trump Kingdom. He was betrothed to the princess, which really steams Makoto's vegetables, if you know what I'm talking about. And then he suggests that maybe the last royal crystal will be on a train because he has a bird. I forgot to mention the last couple of times we've seen the gems turn into royal crystals or royal crystals appear, there's been this bird that watches them and then flies off, and I was like, what is up with that bird? Turns out that bird belongs to Jonathan, and that bird has told Jonathan to go on a train. So they go on the train, they learn more about the princess. Makoto and Jonathan have a moment where they kind of like see eye to eye, and they decide to work together, and they like each other now. To be clear, Jonathan always liked Makoto, but Makoto was being a little standoffish, but now she's warmed up to him. And then Mana fights a train in what might be one of the hardest scenes in Doki Doki so far, and they save the day, and then the real train, the disdained train, gives them the final royal crystal, the pink one. And that has been your Doki Doki Succinct Summary.
Glitter Force! Move your body!
Glitter Force is it covers the same materials, but I will note, and we'll talk about this, that it seems like they cut out some of Jonathan's relationship with the princess, but not all of it. It's weird. Anyways, I want to set a speed record for the Delicious Party Succinct Summary.
I'm ready.
I want you to count the number of words.
Wait. Click! My seatbelt's on.
I see. Okay, yeah, perfect. We're the Succinct Summary police might start chasing us with the incredible speed. In this Delicious Party, episode 24, Succinct Summary, go. Kokone and Kome Kome try to enjoy green peppers, and then a monster attacks.
Wow, that was 7. Or no, that was 12.
Absolutely.
My fingers confused me. No, that was really, really fast. And I don't think that much else
I didn't miss anything. Good facial expressions and like humor in this episode, but like not much of substance.
Takumi got to be an actual part of the group.
That's true.
Again, and he was like bound and determined to cook for Kokone and make her like green peppers so that Kome Kome could enjoy them as well.
That's true. And Takumi also noticed that this little girl has grown up again. He knows that Yui is precious and that the girls are the PreCure. And I think he probably knows that Mary's from the Delicious Kingdom because he also has the stone. I don't know if Takumi's made that connection yet, but I don't think that Takumi is aware that the fairies are the partners of the PreCure. Like, maybe he's figured that out, but I don't think we've ever seen him explicitly see Kome Kome turn into her human form.
Can we go straight into the Delicious Party discussion? Because I had a scene I wanted to shout out while we're talking about Takumi. After Black Pepper helps save the day, he's kind of doing his mysterious cool guy walk off into the distance, and he hears the girls say something about Takumi, like, I hope Takumi's already at my house starting cooking, and he just like freezes. I thought that was really funny.
It's always good when you try to juxtapose a character like what they want to be versus like how they're acting. So that was a brilliant scene. We also got some information at the beginning of this episode. I want to make sure that we talk about this because it was foreshadowing. So Mary is talking about the delicious stone that we saw on Spiritoru last episode. And Mari basically says, hey, listen, that was definitely a delicious stone, but it was a special delicious stone. And I really wish they'd come up with a better name instead of special, but like, I guess there's a specific class of delicious stones, and there should only be 2 of them. One belongs to Mary, and one belongs to Fennel, Mary's boyfriend back in the Delicious Kingdom. But...
Excuse you, his husband...
Okay,
they legalized gay marriage in the Ku Kingdom 30 years ago.
They were way ahead of us on that social program.
They actually legalized gay marriage before they legalized straight marriage.
For the common folk, obviously kings and queens have to be able to bring their nations together.
Obviously. But like common people weren't allowed to get married.
Right.
And then they were like, guys holding hands, gals holding hands, that's fine. Guys and gals together, we're not sure about that. They eventually came around.
Right. Well, and it helps that in the Delicious Kingdom, people are born from, like, trees. They grow out of, like, the fruit and stuff. So there's no need for, you know, the mixing of the genders.
Okay.
I don't...
Why don't we move on
Let's just move on. Okay, but... Mary says there's only 2 of these stones. I have one, Fennel has the other. They're also color-coded, so this one that Spiritoru has is a different special stone, but the person who created the special stones no longer exists, was the exact words that Crunchyroll used to describe the situation. I wonder if he actually said, like, dead, and then they found a different way of phrasing it, but... Yeah, so there's some mysterious character who can make delicious stones, who supposedly died a long time ago. I see you over there, Tropical Rouge, with your something happened a long time ago, but is actually incredibly pertinent to the current situation. But they disappeared, so obviously Gentlu either found that person, or before that person died, he buried all of his special delicious stones in that place, and Narsatoro was the one who found Raftel and discovered the delicious stones. But that's something that's going to come up later, I guarantee it. And you and I had a theory.
Yes. We were thinking that maybe Godats was the guy.
We don't know anything about Godats's, like, personality, goals, history. We don't even have a face, which is very suspicious. So something that we have talked about, or maybe we haven't talked about... The second ending in most PreCure seasons seem to, like, allude, they give some kind of a hint as to what the next season's PreCure season might be about, and we've got the second closing for Delicious Party. And some people are thinking that it seems kind of wedding themed. That's what I thought. It seemed to have like the streamers and like the nice white like linens and stuff that you would expect for like a fancy occasion. Weddings are very, traditionally something that girls are really excited about, so that makes sense. But some other people have been thinking that maybe Alice in Wonderland might be some kind of a theme for next season. And if they are going to give us more clues to next season in Delicious Party, how great would it be if Godats was revealed to be a giant purple cat, a la the Cheshire Cat?
That would be delightful.
That was AU's theory, by the way. I didn't come up with it.
You know what I think would be curious? What if Godats is just an energy fairy?
Okay.
Right? He's the energy fairy of something. And, like, Secretoru is actually the villain. I know they did that last season kind of with the butler.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a good trope, Starscream technically has done something, well, not really. You kind of know that Starscream is wants power.
Or maybe, gosh, why do I keep remembering the guy's name? Okay, the Cook Kingdom warrior who betrayed the Cook Kingdom and tried to steal... Cinnamon.
I believe.
Okay. What if Godats is not Cinnamon? But what if he was Cinnamon's energy fairy partner? And when Cinnamon went to the dark side or disappeared or whatever, Godats was like, food only makes people act badly. And so that, like, pushed him to the side of darkness.
I alluded to this, that I don't know how far you can take a season that's just themed around just, like, food, like, in general. Kira did it really well because it was not really about the food, it was more about, like, emotions, and I guess we also have that with Delicious Party, but I can't figure out for the life of me what a compelling villain narrative would be in regards to food. The only thing I can think of is sometimes it might be boring to have to cook every meal, like 3 meals a day or something like that, but that just doesn't seem like an evil villain's origin story. But no, I think Cinnamon's wrapped up in all this. Mary spoke about the person who could create delicious stones with some level of familiarity, so either they were a famous celebrity, like if one day Elon Musk disappeared, someone might say, the man who supposedly invented electric cars is no longer around. It's not exactly a one-to-one, but it might be that situation, or it might be Cinnamon. We know Mary wants to apologize to Cinnamon, so maybe he was there the day that he, quote-unquote, stopped existing. Ooh,
maybe. Did you buy the idea that Kome Kome seeing Kokone eat something would make Kome Kome like it?
I don't... maybe. So I think I don't think that she just decided to like it because Kokone ate it. I think that Kokone eating a dish that had been built around the bitterness of the green pepper made Kome Kome brave enough to try it herself.
Oh, okay. It made her brave enough to try it herself. That's valid. And I did really like the plot about Kokone, like, going to the farm and touching them and learning about them. I work with a lot of children who have food sensitivities or are severely restrictive in what they will eat. Some of the kids we've worked with have, like, ended up in the hospital because they are so restrictive about their diets. And part of the therapy for that is, like, playing with your food. Like, getting to know the food beyond just putting it in your mouth and eating it. Because the more familiar you are with something, the less scary it is to try to take a bite of it.
Interesting.
Which is why I'm not at all terrified of, like, taking a bite of you, for example.
Oh!
Because I just know you so well.
We're not yet in spooky month, so save your ravenous zombie moments for October,
Oh,
you know?
okay, I'll slip it into my back pocket.
But
anyway.
says I'm allowed to bite him when October comes.
I
Sorry.
thought that was I don't think this was their intention, but again, with Kokone coming off as kind of neurodivergent coded, I thought they did a really good job of how would someone become more comfortable with something that they were, like, almost afraid to try again.
Yes, absolutely. I noted that this episode is a comedy episode, or at least most of it feels that way, and a lot of the faces were great. Kome Kome bursting into tears when Yui says, hey, I got some more green peppers. And then when Pam Pam's like, Kokone, tell Kome Kome that there's nothing to worry about. And then Kokone goes, green peppers are scary. But I think my favorite shot is at one point they make, I think it's like a sandwich, or no, it's a bento box. And there's like a rice in the shape of Kome Kome, and they secretly put the green peppers in there, like you would do with a dog that needs to take its medication, that you put in either the cheese or the peanut butter. And they give it to Kome Kome, and she sniffs it, and she can smell the green peppers, and the facial expression on her when she's like, there's green peppers in here. That was a brilliant shot. She then drops it, runs out of the room, makes another great expression, and then as she runs away around the corner, she slams head first into the wall. She's so scared of green peppers that she bonks herself.
Poor Kome. But also relatable as heck. I paused the episode at this part, and I looked at Joel, and I went, my mom used to try to pull this stuff with me, but it never worked. Do you know why? Because I would take my food apart into little microscopic pieces, making sure there was nothing in it that I found objectionable.
You took a scalpel to your food to make sure that, like, there's no disease here, there's nothing, no surprises.
Mm-hmm. No, I was a difficult child.
Absolutely.
Surprising nobody who's listened to this podcast for a while.
Absolutely. One other thing, well, two other thoughts. One's very, very quick. I like that it was a Kokone Kome Kome. Man, it's hard to say their names next to each other. I wish that maybe one was like Kiku and then the other one would be Kome Kome. But anyways, it was an episode that centered around two characters who are not partners with each other, right? It wasn't a Yui Kome Kome episode. It wasn't a Ran Mem Mem episode. It wasn't even between two energy fairies. It was Kokone and Yui's energy fairy. But it also kind of makes sense, I guess, because, you know, Ran and Yui seem like the type who would eat anything, and so they can't be picky eaters. But Kome Kome is the energy fairy who's, like, the youngest in a certain sense, and so she would be the most likely to, you know, object to a way that food tastes or whatever. Second thought, kind of like how Ran had an episode where she got ultra cutter blades, ultra noodle cutter blades, whatever they're called. In this episode, it was about Kokone developing as a person, and she gets an upgrade to her attack. And the new attack is called Crusty Pan Barrier.
I'm glad that this season of PreCure is finally recognizing what we all know to be true, that the baguette is the most powerful form of bread.
Do you think she'll get offensive capabilities where she can stab people with a little baguette or, like, bonk them with it?
On
guard!
Have I told the speaking French story on this podcast, do you think?
Let's tell it again. I don't know.
When I was 4, and my favorite movie was The Little Mermaid, which, as you all probably know, has an offensive French stereotype in it for the chef. My parents took me to Paris, and I was very excited. And I very much wanted to speak French. My dad speaks French. And so, for the first couple days of our trip, they had me convinced that anything you said was French, as long as you said, ha ha, after it. And they let me do this to French people. French people already don't like Americans very much. If you've ever been to France, like, you know the vibe. And so they were not amused by this American child ha-hawing them. And then, my father, like I said, speaks French. I asked him how to order a cheese omelet in French once I caught on to the ha-ha game, and he had me tell the waiter that I was a cheesehead. So, that's my parents.
I can't believe that you learned to trust people after that. Because, you know, your parents should be the type to, like, guide you through life, and instead they're, like, pulling down your pants and, like, pushing you down the stairs.
I got really close to getting into, like, a physical altercation with a teacher because my dad told me salmon wasn't fish, and I believed him, and the teacher, I was like, there's no way you are as smart as my dad.
That story I'm almost positive you have told on the podcast.
Yeah. Not to derail too much, but I said the haha thing. But no, Crusty Pan Barrier. I really like that this season they seem to be leaning extra hard into the, like, they have their character growth with each other.
Yes.
And then they get their attack. This season feels more than other seasons like it's about your bonds with people. And I think that's kind of what the food motif is supposed to point to, is this overarching theme that it brings us together. And our love for each other is important.
Do you know why sharks are better at eating meat than we are?
More teeth?
It's because they have motif. Yeah. The motif throughout the story about sharks. Can't believe you got that. You were supposed to not know where I was going with that.
No, I didn't. I didn't connect the pun. That's why I laughed so much. I just, like, why would that? And then you said motif, and I was, just driving me full on goblin mode here on the podcast, my guy.
Absolutely. So with you pointing out that food brings togetherness, I can see what you meant when you were talking about Godatz's backstory. Somehow, Godatz was not invited to a pizza party, and that just ruined him. He was like, no one wants to be my friend, so I'll destroy all food. Then no one will have a pizza party. How will companies show their appreciation for their employees now if there are no more pizza parties? How will capitalism work?
Wait, I have an idea.
Yeah.
What if we paid them?
That's a radical idea.
Do you think it'd work?
Maybe.
Let me ask the CEO of capitalism. If you had to name someone, who would you call the CEO of capitalism?
I think it's whoever has the most money.
So Bill Gates?
No, it's Bezos or Musk. I can't remember which of the two.
That's right. Amazon guy is the richest guy in the world.
Yeah.
That's Bezos.
That's Bezos.
The one who looks like Lex Luthor.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
not a comment on his character. Like, you can't judge a person from their looks, but it's weird that he has that much money and is kind of a comic villain, and he looks like a comic villain. Like, I'm just saying it's an odd coincidence.
Maybe the person who is writing the Superman comics could see the future.
Maybe they could.
Anyways.
That's a brilliant thought. Would you like to move on to Doki Doki, or did you have a final delicious thought?
No, I have no more delicious thoughts. It's time for Doki Doki.
Did you like these episodes of Doki Doki?
I liked the statue episode a bit. I liked the train episode. I liked the fight, but maybe not the episode itself. There was a lot of meat to this episode in terms of backstory and showing like the princess who, is either Regina turned evil and brainwashed and forgot her past, or is this baby that's been reborn. So obviously the princess will be important, and it's good to give character details about these characters. If we had an episode about Fuji P, for example, that was this detailed about like what kind of a person he is, I would no longer compare him to a plank of wood, because he wouldn't be. He'd be a character.
Right.
However, that's not what I watch PreCure for. I don't watch PreCure to have like an episode dump about a character. I'd prefer to learn about a character through something that is either comedic or action heavy. Rika's card game that she played, 1,000 Poems or whatever it was called, that was great because you had great humor. The girl's thinking that she'd become like a Yakuza or whatever, a Sukaban, and then it turns out she's playing this really nerdy game. Like, there was some humor there that also developed her character. Whereas with the princess, it's just kind of like, you remember that the Trump Kingdom got attacked? It still got attacked, but now that you could zoom out slightly and there's a blonde guy who is really upset that he wasn't able to save everyone. And I get that pain, I understand it, but like, it's not my type of episode.
I did think that some of his memories of the princess were pretty cute. It was a side of her that we didn't get from Mackenzie, because Mackenzie has the, like, put up on a pedestal idol version of the princess, and he knew what the princess was actually like, which Mackenzie is very offended by. She does not like that this guy, this Johnny-come-lately, had a relationship with her princess.
I had a thought, and I said it out loud to you while we were watching the episode, and you got so excited. You're like, you have to write that down. So I now present to all of you the thought that I had while I was watching episode 18.
PreCure Theater.
PreCure Theater. Makoto, I thought the princess loved me, only to find out she's not a lesbian. Rika, she could be a bisexual. Makoto, what? She has 2 hands, Makoto. 2 hands.
For holding, not for doing whatever you were describing earlier when you were making the weird hand gestures.
No one saw the hand gesture, and no one saw your facial expression. They just heard me fumbling over my words.
Well, now everyone can imagine them.
Yes, you can. You have to use weird hand gestures when referring to how babies are made, unless they're born from fruits, in which case you don't need the hand gestures, because that's just normal. It's a part of nature.
I was offended by how easily they got the pink crystal. I didn't feel like there was any character growth or anything. I feel like they just They had an adventure, they fought a monster, and the monster pooped out a crystal.
Yeah, so we saw the 5 crystals, and I pointed out, there's a pink one, a yellow one, a blue one, and a purple one. Hey, those 4 match the colors of the PreCure. And the 5th one's the red one, and we know that there's usually a secret mid-season cure or 6th ranger, and Regina has some red on her, and she seems like the most likely to be converted because she's the only other character who has a character at this point. And so you and I made the assumption that each girl would get their own episode, and then they would get their own royal crystal based off of a lesson that they learned. And what I think I realized from this episode is I think that they're saying that them coming together and deciding to, protect the princess is what created the crystals. So it's not... I thought it was going to be Mana's character growth, but it was actually the group's character growth deciding to, the queen's an important and cool lady. But I think I would have preferred an episode that challenged Mana more directly.
I feel like I've heard people say a downfall of this season is that Mana just kind of is, Sure. She doesn't get a lot of growth. She's just awesome. And I don't mind that exactly, but also expecting the growth and then not having it was weird.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So... We usually look ahead later in the episode, but usually that's focused on the main series, which is Delicious Party. So, how do you envision the fight for the Red Crystal going?
Bell is going to come to the PreCure, and he's going to be like, look, I know we're enemies, and we can go back to being enemies in one quick sec, but you have got to do something about this Regina girl. She's so annoying. Please, please, I will help you. And so... the disdain or the selfish trio helps the PreCure lay a trap for Regina.
Oh, I really like that. Wile E. Coyote style. They just put a plate of food in the middle of the road and she shows up and she's like, oh, food! And then they drop an anvil on her.
It has to be a plate of food that says, not for Regina.
And she says, challenge accepted, as she pulls out a fork and a knife from her pockets. She carries them around with her wherever she goes, because there can always be food that isn't hers.
Exactly.
That's up for the taking. I like that idea. I don't know if Belle would be the one to betray her, although that would make it even more interesting. I think that it would probably be Ira. He seems the most... or the least he seems to like her the least. And I can see Marmo just being like, you all fight amongst yourselves, I'm gonna go to the spa. And so I think it would be Regina and Belle versus the PreCure and Ira, if it were to go that route. I still think, like I said a moment ago, Regina is kind of the only character who seems to be capable of being the 5th cure, if there is indeed a 5th cure this season. And also... the fact that her eyes glowed red when she got the red crystal, and the fact that her eyes are red the next episode when she's back to being, super mean, and Mom's like, please, tell me what happened. She's like, I've always been like this. I've been a bad bitch since I was born. I think that if they can get the red crystal away from her, she might revert back to normal. And then, or... blue-eyed Regina, I guess. I don't know if that's her default state.
What if they handed her the blue crystal?
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's different types of kryptonite. Yeah, for Superman, that'd be awesome. They give her the yellow one, she just becomes giggly or something.
This is again gonna get hummied out. But I really thought you were gonna say they give her the yellow one.
Gross, Catherine. Gross. Yeah, but no. Oh, and they give her the purple one, and she turns into Batman, and she starts talking like this, and she decides that she doesn't need anyone's help.
Yeah.
But yeah, I unfortunately saw some of the clips of next episode, and I kind of figured out how the next episode is going to go, and it sounds like hijinks are going to ensue, and I really hope that's the case.
Yes,
but. We also found out in this episode that the heart arrow can, reverse the effects of, disdain. So the girls return to statues. Mana was able to turn them back to normal. Maybe she'll hit Regina with the love heart arrow, and then Regina will stop being so goblin mode. So, what do you think about the statue of the princess in the real world, and the fact that it has a gem in it that's super important to the plot, and the fact that the sculptor is like, I don't really remember sculpting that. I just passed out and then it showed up.
Yeah, he said he picked up the stone, and the stone inspired him to sculpt the lady.
Okay.
See, on one hand, if we just had that, I'd be like, maybe the princess's soul is inside it. But on the other hand, why would that make Regina evil?
Yeah. Well, okay, so here's my interpretation of the red eyes with Regina. I assume that she is like a seed of evil. I think that was the term they used in Heartcatch, but I just mean like what she is she's something that might one day grow up into a really dangerous, pure, malevolent force. And maybe what happened is that the power of the crystal was like I think that something in Regina's subconscious is like if the PreCure get this, they'll become stronger and they'll become like a brighter thing of light. So I need to keep this, and I selfishly need to hog all these beautiful gems. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's not like the crystal made her evil. It's more like she has like a hunger in her that was awoken by the crystal.
Oh, okay. That makes perfect sense.
But yeah, we'll have to see where the plot goes, and especially what happens with the crystal. If they take it from her, if they break it, I highly doubt they would, but that'd be an interesting twist if they smash it in order to make sure that she doesn't have it anymore.
Yeah, and then Makoto's like, oh no, but the princess? But then it turns out the princess was hiding in her pocket this whole time.
She was shrunk to the size of a mouse.
Pocket princess. Just in there nibbling on some, like, discarded almonds.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Speaking of cute, because I think a pocket-sized princess is pretty cute, there is something that I've been meaning to bring up on the podcast. Every time I watch an episode that includes a specific thing, I say to myself, Joel, this is the week that you're going to bring it up on the podcast. And every time I forget. This time, I wrote it down. Mana, I can't remember if her love shoot arrow is her new attack or the old attack, but when she got her finishing move with her bow that she could launch the first time before they got their together power, she would pull the bowstring back, and she would wink, and she would launch it. And I thought that was super cute. Mana is just weaponized cuteness, Cure Heart as well. But then, when they got the new combo attack that they use with their upgraded attacks, all 4 of the girls wink at camera. And when Mana winked, there was like a little pink heart that came off of her eye. And I thought to myself, okay, heart because heart for love and she's winking. But then, when all 4 of them winked, you saw a blue one come off of Diamond and a yellow one come off of Clover? That's not her name. Rosetta, thank you. And I thought, okay, so now we have color-coded hearts to go along with, the girls that are winking. But no, it's actually little, like, holograms of their shape. So one's a spade, one's a club, one's a diamond. I just love it. I love it so much.
It's really good. Hey, Joel, I know what that attack is called.
Oh, yeah? You do?
Yeah. It's called the Glitter Force Togetherness Power Arrow.
That's a joke. That isn't real. There's no way.
No, it's right. It's in the script.
Oh, God. It happened twice. It happened in episode 17 and 18, so we know that it wasn't like they misdubbed it or something.
It was not an accident. Speaking of Glitter Force, we've got something else in our notes here. Regina's dub corruption technique.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, so like I said, we forgot to watch the Glitter Force episodes last week for episode 27 of the podcast. We went back and we watched that this week to get all caught up, and it was the episode where Makoto is playing Snow White. The episode where Regina first shows up to be an enemy of the PreCure and actually like created disdain. The enemy! So, in the subs that we read, and it's possible that the subs maybe were slightly mistranslated. Sometimes a word can mean like both power or strength, and if someone translates it as strength, it has a different connotation. But the fan subs that we had said, Regina said, I can turn anyone into a disdain, or I can fill anyone's heart with selfishness. Which you and I kind of discussed that. Does that mean that she can corrupt anyone? Would it work on Mana, for example, who seems to be quite selfless? And we came to the conclusion that the way Regina said it, either she's wrong, or she could corrupt someone like Mana. But in the dub version, what she says, when Makoto says, hey, the actress lady, she didn't have any evilness in her heart, what Regina says is, well, it worked anyways, so there must have been a little bit in there. So I find this really interesting. There's a wonderful 2-parter video on YouTube by Explanation Point about the sub versus dub version of Bakugo from My Hero and his relationship with Midoriya. And I think we're seeing the same thing here. One version of Regina, the Japanese Regina, she can create evilness where there is none. And the English Regina, Regina, can balloon a microscopic amount of evil.
Well, and I think that version of Regina is actually more in keeping with the overall themes of the show. The idea that, like, selfishness exists in our hearts and we try to fight against it, but sometimes it comes up anyways. Yeah. Because so far, everybody who has had a moment of selfishness has been like, no, it's my fault that I have problems.
And then it shows the darkness shrink, and if not for the mercenaries, yeah, absolutely.
Right, and so I think this is one of those rare times where I like the dub better for the way it fits into the overall picture of the show.
I agree conditionally. We are not done with Doki Doki, so if it turns out that Regina, there's something like quote-unquote wrong with her, like she's not a real person, she's just like an evil specter that the Greed King created or whatever, or if it turns out that she's like a mind-controlled girl who is more disdain than human or whatever, I think that it makes sense for her powers to work a certain way, and if she does try to like disdainify the Glitter Force girls or the PreCure in their civilian forms and it doesn't work, I think that would be an excellent way to counter her powers. Like the Greed King is like, I can corrupt anyone. Wait, these four can't be corrupted. What? But if we get to the end of the season and there's like nothing more to Regina's power, it's just like an ability that the writers gave her, then I agree that it makes more sense to kind of explode the darkness that already exists, even when someone's not having a selfish moment.
Absolutely. So we can look forward to more of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you like dub version of Regina? Since this was kind of her debut in Glitter Force.
She's all right. There weren't too many line differences that I really noticed other than the one that we talked about. And I do like it. It is kind of interesting, and I think this is because you and I are used to hearing English voices and maybe less so Japanese voices. But the Japanese Regina, I could see potentially being a little bit older than the other girls, like maybe like 18 or 20 or something like that. Not necessarily the way she dresses. But anyways, the English voice actor, definitely it sounds like she's the same age, like she's a preteen.
It is so interesting how we pick up on things differently, because I was going to say she sounds less babyish in the Glitter Force dub than she does in the original.
Absolutely. We'll have to just settle this with a rap battle. No, I'm kidding.
Boots and cats. Let's move on to some love letters. It looks like we've got a hefty stack o' paper here.
Yeah, I can kind of summarize AU's message. So when James, that one welder guy, and then you and I watched the episode, we all three of us were a little confused about, like, green peppers are bitter? I don't understand. Now, Kat and I don't like green peppers, but I wouldn't say that they're bitter. I just say that I don't like them, which is slightly different. But we asked AU, like, do they taste different in Japan? Like, are there Japanese green peppers that are really bitter? And then there's, like, European green peppers or something, or American or whatever. And AU said that basically green peppers in Japan are like the stereotypical broccoli in America. In America, kids don't like eating their broccoli, which is not true for all kids, but it's true for a lot of them.
That's the stereotype in, like, cartoons. That broccoli
absolutely.
Is yucky.
It's like the worst vegetable. And I guess in Japan, it's green peppers. And it's so pervasive that if you've seen the Pixar movie Inside Out, there's a scene where she doesn't like to eat broccoli, I think when she's like 5, when she's really young. It's a memory. And in the Japanese version, they change it to green peppers. So AU's other thought was that this type of episode has been done a lot in media aimed for children because they're trying to use the power of cartoons to help children eat their vegetables, their green peppers. And so her other thought was that some of these episodes can feel kind of samey because it's been done so many times, but she really liked the way that Delicious Party tackled it.
Yeah, I wish I had asked them what about Delicious Party's take they liked compared to others. And I think maybe it was just that it was hilarious. The faces and everything.
Yeah, I guess there was a animation director, Ken Ueno. I'm not familiar with a lot of Japanese animation directors and such, but apparently he usually does episodes that are usually more plot intense, and so AU was saying it's kind of weird that he was the director for this episode when, there wasn't much plot. But if he's the one who did the little, flying into the stratosphere and, the horror face as they take that bite into the green pepper, then bravo to him. Bravo to whoever implemented that.
Clap, 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 clap. Fancy people clap. Really quick, James, you have been on this podcast. Your thoughts, your voice has been heard on these airwaves before. And I just don't know that this week's thought is something I can give voice to. But I'm going to try, James. I'm going to do my best. You said green peppers are delicious. What the heck are they talking about? They're not. They're not good. They're not. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. They're gross. Green peppers are bad. Come fight me.
Oh my goodness gracious.
No. I don't want to yuck somebody else's yum. The things you like are valid. I am very picky, and I accept and embrace that about myself.
Speaking of that phrase, yuck someone's yum, it is a phrase used in some schools with young children that basically means if someone likes a food that you think, smells bad, or you tasted it and you don't like it, just don't comment on it.
Yeah, it means if someone likes anything that you don't like.
Fair enough.
Your opinion is not valid to them.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think, the yum part comes specifically because a lot of children have specific ideas about food and what they like and what they don't like. But I also use that phrase on Reddit. When I posted last week's episode, someone commented. So this thought comes from Xander124. In my description of the episode summary on Reddit, I said, hey, we finally finished Max Heart, and Joel, didn't like it. And Xander124 basically said that I think that Splash Star is way better than Futari Wa and Max Heart in most aspects. And then they warned about don't assume that it's just another season of Futari Wa. The similarities are kind of superficial. And I basically said, I'm not going to yuck anyone's yum. If you like Futari Wa or Max Heart, I know that there are a lot of people who really like them. They're allowed, and I'm not trying to tell them that they're wrong. I don't think that the season is bad. It doesn't have plot holes or something, or inconsistent character models or something. I just personally don't like what it was going for, and I think that later seasons improved the formula, which I've been trying to make clear. But I do want to point out, thank you, Xander124, for your comment.
Yeah, absolutely. Episode 27 of Doki Doki.
No, Delicious Party.
Yeah. Of Delicious Party has no food words in it.
Oh my gosh. So is this the episode where they jump the shark?
I'm going to replace a single word in the title with pizza. Just to make it fit the pattern. Kome Kome's big pizza, Rand's happiness plan.
The word that my wife replaced was change. So Kome Kome's big change is very interesting and makes me think that she's going to get another transformation, but maybe instead of transforming into a human, she just turns into an eldritch creature with 18 tentacles and 3 heads. One that always tells the truth, one that always tells lies, and the other one that just plays techno music.
No, man, maybe this is when we get our Cure Pecorin moment for Kome Kome.
Maybe, yeah. There's some screens going around of the upcoming movie that's coming out in Japan in the next month or so. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll be able to cover it for a while, but I suspect that Kome Kome's growth in the last couple of episodes, which seems to be quite expedited, I think is in service to the movie, which I think might be a more Kome Kome focused movie.
You know what AU pointed out that I totally didn't realize?
What's that?
We've lost 5 whole episodes of Delicious Party so far.
Due to the hack, and I think they had another episode that there was some other delay for something else. And I guess the voice actress for Yui, I don't think we covered this before, but she got COVID, unfortunately, and so she might not have as many speaking lines because of that. So some people have been complaining that there hasn't been enough Yui focus lately. And we must have mentioned something about that, something about like, oh man, I wish Yui had a moment in this episode. But there's a couple of reasons why, and hopefully maybe in the later half of the season she'll get more screen time.
I hope Toei breaks the curse someday. You know, I hope they can have a season of PreCure that doesn't have any delays or disruptions. The last couple years have been rough.
Yeah, rough for everyone, but especially giant animation companies that are trying to release a weekly show throughout the year. So the second part of that title, Ran's Happiness Plan, what is that?
So it's got to be a plan for somebody else, right?
I think so.
Somebody else is unhappy and Ran is trying to cheer them up.
Ooh, I like that.
Because
okay.
that seems in keeping with her character, and she has chronic can't mind your own business disease. I mean, she's an influencer, so like her whole thing is to talk about things. So maybe she sees someone who's sad and she tries to cheer them up with food, but it doesn't work. And she's like, food doesn't work? And they're like, I have traumatic memory with food. And she's like, okay, but what if, hear me out, I'll try food. And they go, wow, food good. And then they're happy.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I think Ran's happiness plan is she realizes that she will always feel an emptiness in her heart until she manages to catch them all in Pokemon. So she's going to like shut herself in her room and lock the door, and she's not going to come out until she's finally got Mew and Celebi and all the other ones that you can't get through legitimate means, but she'll find a way.
What I'm hearing is she's going Game Shark.
Absolutely.
Now, I do have a crack theory to send us out this week.
Excellent.
Godats. This whole time, we've thought his name was Godats.
Okay.
His name is actually Go Dance.
Go Dance?
Because he has a passion for the art of moving one's body to music.
Uh-huh.
And he hates food because it takes people's attention away from the dance floor.
From the Mamba. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Feel that funky beat.
One hop this time.
Go Dance knows where did Cotton Eye Joe come from and where did he go. He went into Godatz's belly. I don't know why he ate Cotton Eye Joe, but that's a thing that happened.
That's been your do final thought. Outro goes here. One clap this time. Yep.
In remembrance of Cotton Eye Joe. Oh, wait, no, that's a different song. Frick!
Thank you all for joining us for another delicious plateful of
Cure of the What Now.
Please take a moment to rate and review wherever you get your podcasts from.
Or if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to leave a comment, a like, or lick that subscribe bell so you know when the new episodes are going up.
Did you just say lick it?
Well, yeah, we're baking delicious foods. It's a delicious party.
Anyway, you can find me on Twitter at PirateGhostHost. Please don't lick me.
Can you even lick a ghost? I'm on Twitter at Kotwin_pod.
KOTWN_pod.
Absolutely. And as always, the Discord link is in the Twitter bio and also in the YouTube description.
Come join us for weekly discussions, streams, and all of the PreCure your heart can handle. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yum. Or no, I'm full.